Do you know by coincidence betterplace.org? You know it. Some of you might know it. It's an online donation platform. And Joana Breidenbach is not only the founder and co-founder of that online platform, what she's developed out of it is a Better Place Lab. And she's highly interested for many, many, many years in working in this field, how to use digital means and connection to make the world a better place, not only in the online donation sector, much, much way beyond. And she's working with that on the Better Place Lab. She's a cultural anthropologist. She has written several books about several subjects, and she's a renowned speaker all over the world. She's traveling a lot. It's very hard to get her on the phone. We're very happy to have her here today and now, and she's now talking to you. Joana Breidenbach, enjoy it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I mean, that was all a huge exaggeration. So I did found here in Berlin 12 years ago a platform called betterplace.org. At the time, eBay was fairly new, and we thought, wouldn't it be cool to have like a platform, an open platform where grassroots projects from around the world could post what they are doing in the social sector, where they needed help, and they could collect online donations and volunteering. And so we've built that up, and we are a social business, so we are a non-profit joint stock corporation, and it has worked out quite nicely. At the moment, we are having about 28,000 projects on the platform using us for their online fundraising. We have channeled over 60 million euros into social projects. And we have here locally a team of 50 employees who we also, I think, pay fairly decently. And as Kiki was saying, I've also then founded the Better Place Lab in 2010 because I felt that digital technology is going to be a big, big game changer in this whole area of social change. And so we wanted to scout innovations around the world, and we've done field work in over 30 countries to look at this new startup scene, which is not so much for exit and profit, but which really looks for purpose, for social and environmental benefit. And I really enjoyed this, building up this scene. When we started, you know, people were saying, what, digital and social? How does that belong together? Of course, digitization is going to change the economy, but is it really going to change the work of, you know, NGOs and other nonprofits? We don't believe so. But we now see that this has changed, and we are now seeing a new scene. And you probably live in the business school bubble, while I live in the social innovation bubble. And I want to spend my time here with you to just give you some maybe bullshit detector, you know, to sharpen your bullshit detector, because in the last few years, I've become pretty disillusioned with our scene. So even though, you know, my colleague Dennis, he was the guy to coin the term digital social innovation. And now you have conferences, you know, you have all the many TED Talks about digital social innovation. You have many companies who design their CSR programs around this. And I think we are not really having the impact we could have, and that is because of a few things. And I want to tell you now what I'm interested in, and I just want to give you 3 thoughts of things which I am now interested in and what I'm working on. And I'm going to have a drink first. So my first criticism in a way, and this is not a criticism of anybody else, but this is really a criticism of myself, is that I have been fetishizing entrepreneurship. Because, you know, I once heard Mohammed Yunus say, when I see a social or an environmental problem, I create a business. And I thought, wow, great. I mean, this is exactly what I want to do. And so now there's a whole scene consisting of thousands, tens of thousands of people who try to use business to make the world a better place. So in general, that's very good. But I think we as entrepreneurs in this sector have a few really serious blind spots. And the first one is, we always talk about win-win ideology. You know, we always say, oh, there's a win-win opportunity. We always talk about opportunities. But you know, the world is not so simple that everything is win-win and that there are all these business opportunities out there. Because a lot of the injustice and a lot of the the bad things which Thomas was talking about, which are happening, are structurally. They are not because there doesn't exist a cool app or a good company for this. They are because, you know, the system is politically screwed up. But entrepreneurs, and I'm fully one of them, you know, it's so hard to change the political process. And when I always say, when I have to go into a ministry, 1 hour in a ministry, 3 hours of therapy, you know, because it's just so hard the mindset is different, the processes are slow, there are so many stakeholders which you have to align, and all of that is really, really hard work. So I have also taken a bit the easier route to say, okay, as an entrepreneur, you can do these things, you have so much more freedom, you can create and design so much more. And I think that's not the case, or it is the case, but it's not the full story. I think we really have to look, when we face a problem, we have to see, is this a problem which really asks for a market solution? Or is this a problem where we really need to work politically? And where the people like me, who are part of the elite, and you know, all of us here are the elite, where we are not really willing to step on our own toes, because lots of the next social system we are going to create is going to hurt us personally, because we are the privileged. And we are not really good at cutting out our own privilege. There's a wonderful American civil rights activist, Audre Lorde, and what she said, the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. And I do believe that as entrepreneurs, we are constantly looking for helping the victims of our social system. But very few people actually look at the perpetrators, you know, which we are also, the companies who are having huge CSR budgets, who are doing good in their main business. Maybe they are really creating so much harm that they could never in any way, you know, balance that with the kind of donations they are giving out for social innovation. So I really want you to, the next time you hear win-win, or you know, when people are only focusing on the victims and not at all looking at perpetrators, to check that. That's okay. Oh God. Okay, already. So this is what I'm interested in, to step out of my social innovation bubble. The second thing I'm really interested in is to develop a more systemic perspective on the world, because the world is very complex, and very often business solutions in the for-profit or the non-profit sector are fairly simple. And if we design a simple solution for a complex world, we very often create companies which create so many externalities and so many unintended consequences, which the company is not going to, you know, clean up, but society and politics have to do so. And they are very often not well equipped. So I'm really interested in how can we develop models for businesses which take much, much more context, much more stakeholders, much more regional levels into account, and design much cleverer business models and solutions for the challenges we face. And my third topic I'm really interested in is, how do we actually manage to create outer change without changing ourselves? I truly believe that outer transformation, outer change, and the digital world offers so many amazing opportunities. I'm fully on that board. But at the same time, we are experiencing overwhelm, and there are lots of challenges which also come with that. So I believe we have to mature and grow psychologically. We have to develop a much better inner contact with ourselves. We have to develop much better relationship capacities in order to really deal with this complex world. Because, you know, you can say the world is complex outside, but the world only happens in us, in our own subjectivities, because we see the world. So we have to, in a way, with an increasing outside complexity, we also have to work on ourselves, and in order to be able to host this complexity. So when I'm working now with teams, I'm doing a lot of inner work. We are doing meditation, we are doing triad work, we are doing just all kinds of things which you would normally associate more with therapy. And I feel that this is really very, very crucial, and that the really systemic, impactful companies, and hopefully also political parties and groups of the future, will not only be innovative in the outside world, but really be innovative in the inside world, because outer change and inner change are just so connected, and it's also such an extremely exciting journey for every one of us individually. So it's not only good for the planet, but also good for yourself. Thank you.
Where shall I start? Where shall I start? Can you explain what is Triad Work? Not tribal, Triad.
Okay, Triad.
Yeah, okay, can you use that?
So Triad Work is something which is a tool which many therapists and group therapy is used. What you do is when you, like for example, we had this exercise, 3 minutes. But instead of having a dialogue, people are given 1 minute just to speak by themselves, and the other people are only allowed to listen. Because we don't really know how to listen well, including myself. And so the challenge then is you really see somebody else, if they are struggling to come up with their own perspective and really dig deep inside themselves, what do I actually think about what I just heard? It's much more challenging, but also much more rewarding if you then come up with your own point of view than if there are a few people and in a group there's always one person who's dominating, and then the others are only listening.
Coming to the other point that you first mentioned, we really have to be precise. Is that a solution for a consumer solution and for new goods, or is that a regulation policy making question? Can you give us a practical example where you gave an advice to say, let's go that road or that road, from a practical context?
Let me think. I think in all kinds of, I can give you an example of a concrete company. So in America, for example, there's a company which is helping poor people, marginalized people, to deal with the limited financial resources they have in order to do a better budgeting of their very little money they have. So, in a way that's good. It's good that the people who have very little money, that they are actually being advised and being helped with a digital tool of how to use that money wisely and not spend it on already on the 20th of the month. But at the same time, I believe that a for-profit company, which then even also charges these very poor people because they still have to pay for it, so they are then their customers, that I think, this is something where you have to radically think about the social system, and you really have to have a political solution to people who can't afford, even though they are working and don't have a living wage.
Whenever I talk to you, I think the content part of me, as well as the soul part, get aligned. And I went to your website this morning on joanabreidenbach.com, and you have a plug for inner work. And there are many podcasts, highly interesting to go on that podcast and listen to them. One buzzword there is effective altruism. I'm totally struck by this word. Can you explain a bit on that? Because I think it directly goes into the heart of what we're talking about. Gut gemeint ist nicht immer gut gemacht in German. I don't know the English quote for it. You want to do something good, but not necessarily it results in good. So can you elaborate a bit on effective altruism?
There's one part of me which really likes what they are doing, and the other part is I find it's really, really wrong. So effective altruism is a philosophy, basically, which was originated at the University of Oxford. And it's people, mainly young techies, who are saying, if we want to do good, we really have to put our resources there where we know that they are doing most good. So we have to evaluate very, very critically the NGOs, for example, who we give our money to. So there's an agency called Givewell, which rates nonprofits. And they've been around for about, I think, 12 years, the same as Better Place. And they only recommend 3 nonprofits. Of all the millions of nonprofits there are in the world, they only say, well, these 3 nonprofits are worthwhile because you really get, good results for your donation. So they're very, very harsh, and really are very, very impact-driven. And it's very popular right now in the Silicon Valley. They are having effective altruism conferences there. But they even go so far that they say, well, the biggest risk for humanity might be a meteoroid, which is going to hit the Earth. So this is where we should put all our resources. We should really, because that's maximum destruction. So forget about all these poor people who don't have safe drinking water in the world. We really should put our resources to these really huge, I don't know what they are, there's a special term for it, these risks, which are very, very small, that probability is very small, but if they do happen, then they really have severe consequences. And so that's what they are also really into. So it's a pretty nerdy philosophy.
Joana, good to have you live here. Thank you very much. Thank you.